Story 1. I'm 24 and my sister, Christy, is 25. I hated her for a time, but now I just don't care. We were raised in the same house by the same parents, but treated completely differently. Christy went to private school, was chauffeured around by our stay-at-home mother, and was given a hefty allowance. I went to public school, rode the public bus and walked everywhere and never had an allowance. No extended family would say anything beyond claiming my parents and sister loved me, that I have to understand that it wasn't their place and that maybe things would be better if I tried harder. I hated them just as much as I hated my parents. Christy mocked me relentlessly growing up. She was the pretty one and the smart one. If I got upset by her mocking, I was told I'm being sensitive and that it was sibling love. If I said hurtful things right back, I was grounded because I took it too far. I wasn't allowed to outshine her. I wasn't allowed to have friends. My clothing was policed by her, and the few nice clothing aunts and uncles would get me would be replaced with frumpy and unattractive clothing. It would end up in her wardrobe. My parents would back up Christy saying I couldn't pull it off and that it looks inappropriate when I wore it. The rest of the family, the people who gave me the clothes included, would compliment how good she looked and pretty much validate Christy. I know for a fact that I am and have always been attractive. Even in those ugly outfits, I managed to get asked out on multiple dates and got a boyfriend sophomore year. Said boyfriend knocked up Christy our senior year after cheating on me with her since I got my early admission letter and was neglecting him and the family. She told me the day before my graduation, claiming he was going to marry her and they were in love and it grew from me abandoning them both, blah blah. Our mother was there, and because I didn't really react, she thought I was being a good sister and said she was so proud of me. I didn't cry about it. I just packed up my car when everyone was asleep, skipped my graduation and the supposed party that was planned, and I left. My only stop was to the police station where I gave them my info, told them that if I'm reported missing that I'm not, and bluntly said I'm running from an abusive family, was going away to college and never coming back, got rid of my phone and everything, went to school, got a good internship, turned job, bought the condo I was renting, had my dream wedding. Christy got in contact with me via Facebook. Her DMs, 2 days worth because I don't really use my Facebook, consistently of her saying I abandoned her when she needed me most, that she's practically a single mom, her husband, my ex, hates her and got with a woman that looks like me, our parents blame her for me leaving and won't help her, and the entire family treats her kid like crap for being the product of an affair. She didn't get into any of the colleges she applied to, couldn't go to college as a full-time mother. She switched between blaming me for her misfortune and throwing a pity party. While reading, I didn't feel much of anything reading how awful her life turned out. I think I truly just stopped caring, and so even karma beating her down didn't give me any joy. Then she bothered and tagged me in a post that read I feel like I'm drowning, and I just need my sister. Why won't you respond? Why did you leave me when I needed you the most? Please, I'm in such a bad place. If you don't help, I'll just end it all. I replied via comment and DM, go ahead and off yourself. I'm not helping you and frankly don't care. You stopped being my sister the day you gave me bleach as a gift and blocked her shortly after. The logical part of me is telling me that was wrong, but I just can't bring myself to care enough to feel guilty. If something happens to her, I still don't think I'll care. This is contrary to what her family and friends think, all people I've blocked without bothering to read their messages. Responses from op and comments. Commenter, given how close you were in age, is it possible that one of you is adopted, or the product of an affair? I don't understand how your parents could be so openly cruel and no one stood up for you. You didn't deserve any of that, and I'm glad you were able to thrive without them. I hope you live a good life far away from all those people. You don't owe your sister anything. Op, no adoptions, no affairs, just colorism and me being unplanned, so essentially unwanted. Commenter, to be honest it was one of my thoughts, but the op says they are African Americans and sister is light-skinned versus her that she is darker than everyone in the family. I think it might be something related to the color of her skin, as I have read that light-skinned African American, or just black people in general, consider them more exceptional, and that is related to the passing test they went through. Op, you worded it well, and you were accurate on part of my mistreatment. Colorism is a major issue in many black communities, and what your friend told you isn't wrong either, and I wasn't even the darkest of my family, just of my immediate family. Commenter, I'm sorry, did you say she gave you bleach as a gift? What is the context there? Telling her to go ahead and kill herself is fucked up. I don't judge you for feeling that way though. But it might have been better to say something like, I'm not there for you, because when I was you treated me like a punching bag and got knocked up by my boyfriend. Maybe try getting some sympathy from someone you haven't mistreated their entire life. You reap what you sow. I find the direct and ugly truth works better with these things, and since you are only saying truth and not being actively cruel, other people can't really blame you or call you mean. But man, your sister is fucking delusional turning to you after all that awfulness she put you through. Now she's suffering because she's getting just a taste of what it's like to not be the golden child that receives nothing but praise. Your parents really did a number on you both, and they should be blamed more than your sister. But considering she hasn't seemed to learn a damn thing and isn't taking any accountability for anything, she can go pound sand too. OP, the context for the bleach. My family is Black American, and while Christy was always light-skinned, I was much darker than her and both my parents. For my 14th birthday, her gift to me was a spa kit that consisted of skin lightening products, exfoliating products, a bottle of bleach. She told me that I needed to lighten up, and that was the best gift anyone could give me. She wasn't grounded, but I was one. I threw her gift out and didn't apologize when she started crying. Update: Mill got arrested, not a good thing, but I'm happy regardless. This happened 2 days ago. She said worth it once my husband, Derek, and I bailed her out. No charges are being pressed against her, something I'm extremely happy about. This is somewhat of an update to my previous post about my sister, Christy, and my response to her unaliving threat. It wasn't nice and I still don't feel guilty. My mother, who'll be called Emma, was able to get in contact with my brother Cam, not long after Christy's post was deleted. He didn't tell me at the time, but he thought it was our maternal grandparents calling. It wasn't. He did talk to her and share that I was married, had a good job, so on. He essentially was rubbing in her face that I was living an amazing life and didn't need them. He admits that he saw a red when she didn't believe this because I never posted about any of that stuff on Facebook again. I don't really use it. If I want you to know something, I'll call or text. He sent her pictures of my wedding, specifically pictures that showed how extravagant and intimate it had been. We only had 32 guests, and because of Mills and Phil's contributions, we were able to have our dream wedding at a beautiful venue. Him also listed all of my other achievements, talked about how I finally had parents that loved me and treated me properly. I can't even be mad at him, even though he thinks I should be, because Emma figured out where I was based on his bragging about having mended his relationship with me and me staying with him. Based on that, he thinks that's how she figured out where to start looking. Plus, our shared and individual friends and my in-laws are far more active online than I am, and not all of them have their accounts private. Cam follows them, and they follow him, so he feels like he's to blame. She doesn't know where I live, hopefully, but she was at a cafe I normally go to with my Mill. She and Phil are adamant about group and solo bonding with their children, and I'm always included in this tradition. I was with my Mill, and well, Cam wasn't exaggerating about me having parents that now love me. When I first met Derek, I had a hard time opening up to him, and we both agreed to start as friends and see where things went when I was comfortable with the idea of any kind of intimate relationship. His parents were so kind to me, and when we started dating, I had difficulty with them. It was my Phil who sat me down one night after dinner and told me that their son loves me, and they can see why, so I should love myself and allow myself to be loved too. By that point, I had spent 3 months observing how they treated Derek and his older brothers, how close Derek was with his parents and brothers, and how healthy their relationships were. I blubbered and can admit I fixated on him ruining my makeup. It was my obsessing with my appearance instead of dealing with internal crap phase, and Phil just hugged me and said I was adorable. But shouldn't ignore my feelings like that because it would just fester. He's amazing and I love him so much. Random tangent, but that memory came to mind. Anyways, Mill and I came to the cafe together, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really recognize my mother until I heard her speak. Her voice is the same voice that used to insult me and yell at me, no different after so many years. She'd gained weight and was still as attractive as ever. But I don't know, I didn't immediately realize it was her. I realized who she was when she called my name, and I just turned around and left. I didn't realize my Mill wasn't following me until I was back in my car and about to start it. I got back out and went to go get her. I felt horrible for just leaving her behind like that. Mill seemed calm when I got back, but Emma was not. She was mid-sentence, and what I heard was, "Your daughter. Who do you think you are?" She shoved my Mill, and Mill said, "The one that loves her the way a mom should. Who do you think you are?" And then Mill wasn't so calm because Emma said that lying whre real mother. That was all it took for her to jump on Emma. She got in multiple punches before I got her off and cops showed up not long. I guess the cafe workers or customers called before things escalated. Either way, she was arrested and Mill was bailed out ASAP. She told me it was worth it the moment we were in the car, and I just started laughing and crying when she ranted about how angry Emma made her think she could call my daughter anything degrading and get away with it. She said she was so happy I ran away and found them because she couldn't believe anyone could insult me like that when she knows what type of person I am and probably have always been. You just weren't allowed to be that person. I should have hit her harder. Is it awful that I feel so good about this? It's like my child self is getting her wishes, however delayed the granting is, and I'm just so happy someone loves me enough to be angry with me. Growing up, my parents never defended me from anyone. Most of the time, they'd openly agree with any insult directed at me, even when I was right there. As a footnote, I noticed some comments asking for an update on Christy. In a comment, I said she deleted her post not long after I deleted my comment. The few people whose messages I actually read claimed they were going to have a wellness check done and told me if something happened, it would be my fault. At the time, I didn't know Cam and Derek were both getting messages too. Derek's response was to send everyone a comprehensive list of everything I had ever vented to him about. It included some of what I vented about in my first post, but also some other things that I've told him about. He ended each list with a question: why should my wife feel any shame for responding that way to one of her abusers? No one responded to him, and unlike me, he never blocked anyone. Cam's response was to shame them and reveal that Christy has always implied unaliving herself to get her way just like her mother. He shared old texts between him and our parents and some between him and Christy as proof. Yes, she has always done that and so has our mother, but I didn't know they did that to him too. No one responded to him either. I don't know if there was an actual wellness check. Cam has blocked everyone, including both sets of grandparents, so I guess I have another partner in my NC boat. Cam has apologized and offered to cover Mill's bail. Derek told him no, but that he could host a small gathering celebrating Mill's accomplishment instead. I love this man. I assured Cam that I don't blame him at all. Mill getting arrested made me feel awful, and I blamed myself for leaving her alone with Emma initially. But I don't blame Cam. The fact that he cared so much to be offended on my behalf and brag about me made me feel good too. Him and Derek and Mill defending me just makes me feel pure joy. It's not a happy situation, but I'm just so happy regardless. Story 2. I canceled the wedding and told my fiancé that I don't really want to marry her anymore. Here is what happened. We were visiting a botanical garden yesterday when Sarah pointed out a flower called the Arabian jasmine, a little white flower with a nice scent. She said that her cousin Stephanie had those at her wedding. I asked if it was the same Stephanie that would be in attendance with her husband at our wedding, and she said it was. Sarah and Stephanie are apparently pretty close, and she started telling me about Stephanie and her husband. At one point, she told me that Stephanie had actually cheated on her husband twice before they got married, and that the second time was a couple of months before the actual wedding. Her husband never found out. I asked her why she never told Stephanie's husband what happened, and she responded by saying that it wasn't her circus, wasn't her monkeys, and that it's not that big of a deal anyway since they weren't married at the time. I've been thinking about what she said ever since. I consider cheating the ultimate, worst betrayal in a relationship. Clearly, my fiancé doesn't think so since she said her cousin cheating wasn't that big of a deal since they weren't married. Would this mean that she thinks cheating on me right now wouldn't be that big of a deal since we aren't married yet? As a man, if I got cheated on by my partner, I hope someone who knew about it would tell me. I would heavily judge anyone who knew about it, didn't tell me, let me go on to marry the person that cheated on me, and attended my wedding as if nothing was wrong. Like my fiancé did to her cousin's husband. About an hour ago, I texted my fiancé I'm not sure if I can go forward with getting married. Let's talk in person later tonight. She's been blowing up my phone with texts and missed calls ever since. I'm just going to tell her what I've said in this post when I see her. Update. Posted 9 days ago. I had a conversation with my fiancée Sarah. We've decided to think things over on our own for a couple weeks and decide what we'll do next. If we do get married, we'll probably end up postponing the wedding. I found out from Sarah that her cousin Stephanie's husband, Lars, is an attending musculoskeletal radiologist at a local hospital. I texted Lars over the weekend, introduced myself as Sarah's fiancé, and asked if I could have a conversation with him on the phone. We called a couple of times between Monday and yesterday. I let him know that I wasn't telling him what to do, and that I did not have any receipts. but that I just felt an obligation as a human being to inform him of something that I felt he should know. I told him what Sarah told me, about his now wife cheating 2 months before his wedding, and the name of who she did it with. When he found out, Lars went quiet for a little while and said he was shocked and devastated. It turns out that who Stephanie cheated with is a co-worker of hers that Lars had met, and that they've attended work and dinner parties together in the past. Throughout our conversation, he kept asking for details on what happened, where it occurred, why she did it, who else knew, and so forth. Unfortunately, Mark didn't have answers to most of his questions, but he still thanked me profusely for telling him what happened when no one else did. Part of why I sympathize with Lars is personal. Lars is originally from Denmark and came here for college after high school. My own Scandinavian father came here from Norway for undergrad and ended up becoming a lawyer here. He married my mom, an American woman, had me and my siblings, and provided us with the best life any husband and father could possibly provide his family. I couldn't imagine Lars doing the same for a woman who cheated on him and kept it a secret for years. I have no regrets. My fiancé, her cousin, and their family were the only family that Lars had in this country. I couldn't imagine him coming to this country for opportunity and working hard for 13 years to become a physician only to marry a disloyal wife and be deceived and betrayed by the very people he thought he could trust. I couldn't imagine living a lie like that for years, no matter how blissful the lie. Lars had a right to make an informed decision as to whether or not he wants to stay in his marriage. If Lars and Stephanie get divorced now, it would be Lars rightfully ending his own marriage based on the information he now knows, not me ending it of my own volition. Marking ongoing as did not update on the aftermath. Hopefully we get more information later on. If you've made it to this point, you're a beast.